Okay, welcome back. In this segment, we will talk about blockchain types. So, major players in the blockchain at this point, I'm pretty sure you will be familiar with the Bitcoin. Bitcoin, there was the first blockchain implementation and largest market capital in the cryptocurrency. Ethereum is a second generation blockchain and it has the second largest market capital in the cryptocurrency world. So it provides a framework for developers to come up with a decentralized application to execute a smart contract. The other major player in the blockchain is the Hyperledger. Hyperledger is an open source umbrella, or is a project by the Linux Foundation. Hyperledger Fabric is one of the blockchain projects with Hyperledger and it provides support for all industries. The other major players in the blockchain is the Corda. Corda is pretty much similar like a Hyperledger, but it was initially designed for the financial services, but now it's been expanded to all of the industries. So take a look at the next slide. What are the different classification and how these different blockchain players falls into different categories, right? So the first major classification of the blockchain is public versus private. So it's pretty much same. If you know the difference between the intranet and the intranet, the corporate intranet is like a kind of control, where the internet is a public. So pretty much the same thing. The public blockchain platform are the permissionless, which means anyone can read and write to a blockchain. It's an open enrollment, it's anonymous, and it's a public ledger. So Bitcoin and the Ethereum are the example of the public blockchain. Whereas the private blockchain are just like an intranet, which is kind of private. Only the particular user can read and write. So in order to get access to the data, you need to get the permission. Hyperledger and the Corda types of the private blockchain. There are some added benefit of the private blockchain is the faster transaction rate as compared to the public blockchain, Bitcoin and Ethereum. It has a better scalability features as compared to these public blockchain, and also it has a multiple options for the consensus algorithm. So the other classification for the blockchain is specific versus generic. Specific means very specific implementation. Just like a Bitcoin, which is the pretty much very specific implementation for the financial transaction. It cannot be programmed, whereas generic platform can be programmed and you can run multi smart contract and they can execute different codes. So Ethereum, Corda, and Hyperledger are the example of the generic implementation, whereas the Bitcoin is the example of the very specific implementation of a blockchain. So other classification for the blockchain is like a business to business, B2B, and a B2C, which is business to consumer. Business to consumer means more of a public blockchain where public is interacting with the blockchain. So Ethereum is one of the example. It has its own native currency, which is Ether, and it can run a smart contract, and it is mainly used by for the music industry to reach out to the audience, and the content distribution and online gaming and publishing and the charity. Whereas the business to business is more of a private type of the enterprise blockchain. They are private means they are permission, like you need to get a permission before you join. There's no native currency supported because it's a private network, so there's a more of a subscription-based model where they're different enterprise, if they want to join the blockchain network, so they have some sort of subscription or the fee, but there's no need for a native currency. But these platforms provide, if you can code the currency on top of the existing platform, but there's no native currency supported by this platform. They can run a smart contract, and mainly they are used in supply chain, inventory management, and the finance sector, and there are so many other different sectors. They can pretty much support all sectors of the different industries. So Hyperledger and the Corda are the example of the B2B blockchain, whereas the Ethereum is a type of the business to consumer blockchain. So in this episode, we talk about the different types of blockchain. So let's continue with the next slide with more details about the blockchain technology.